And here's part 2 of Everdark Academy, Chapter 1.
Carl turned, facing fully back to the camera.
As you know from our own Bryce Williams interviews with several of these students, they share little in common.
A segment of one of those interviews flashed across the screen. The first student was an elderly Japanese man. The white hair on his head was thinning so that some of his scalp could be seen through the fine strands. His skin had the papery appearance that many elderly people got, but his dark eyes were alight with intelligence and life. He was dressed neatly in all black, hands folded almost primly in his lap. He smiled at the interviewer, one Bryce Williams, with benevolence and patience. "So, Mr. Goda, I have to admit that you were not the typical person I would expect the vampires would choose as a potential fledgling." Bryce had an uncertain smile on his Ken Doll-like face. Grayson guessed that Mr. Goda could have easily taken offense at this statement on multiple levels and multiple ways. But Mr. Goda smiled warmly and answered,
"I wondered to myself if they would take someone of my advanced years. After all, when we see vampires in the media, they are always young and beautiful. I am none of those things."
Grayson had to agree with Mr. Goda. Not about his looks, but about his age. Eiji looked to be in his 80s, though now that real vampires were presenting themselves for interviews, there was far more variety in age, race, and body type than he had assumed there would be. He admitted that he had believed that they would all be Eastern European in appearance, with pale faces and sharp teeth. There were plenty of people that fit that stereotype, but far more that didn't. In fact, there were vampires from every country on the planet. They were everywhere, or so it seemed, or so it was feared. "Well, you're quite handsome, Mr. Goda."
Eiji, please. I am beyond such vanity now, I hope.
Eiji, and please, call me Bryce. Now, what made you want to become a vampire? Bryce's expression switched from genial to serious, as if he could pick emotions out of a closet and try them on for size. Eiji cocked his head to the side in an almost bird-like manner. He seemed so frail that Grayson worried his neck would snap from the movement. He sincerely hoped that whatever testing was done in the academy, that it didn't require physical exertion, because it looked like a weak wind might be able to carry him away with it.
Ah, I see what you mean. In some ways, I imagine that people look at me, having had a full and satisfying life, and hope that I would be content to go into the next one.
It was clear that Mr. Goda did not agree with that viewpoint.
Wanting immortality at my age might seem greedy.
Bryce put on a concerned expression. "I think that since most of us will never get the opportunity to become immortal, that we look to our elders to accept that we move on from this life. I think there is, panic now at the thought of death, even though we've been assured there is something beyond it, because there is a choice where there seemingly wasn't before. To see that someone, as you yourself described, after having a long, satisfying life, still wants to become a vampire? Wow, I think it makes people more nervous about their own mortality." Eiji nodded, also looking serious, but then a small, almost impish smile played over his wizened face.
I cannot speak for others, only myself, but I can say that my 82 years on this planet have not been enough by half. If I was content to pass on, I would not have applied to the academy, and the vampires would not have accepted me. So do not look on me as an example of those who would find contentment in another life, but one that will fight with all he has to stay in this one."
Bryce smiled back. "So you're saying that you're an example for those in their golden years who don't want to fade away?"
Exactly. And I would argue, Bryce, that young people are the least able to know if they wish to live forever.
Eiji smiled kindly as he spoke.
Remember the old adage, youth is wasted on the young.
The segment ended abruptly, and Carl and Candy appeared once again.
What an interesting guy. Are all the students like him?
82 years old and a successful businessman out of Tokyo?
No, but I do have to say that each candidate is quite impressive. Let's watch another interview of an Everdark Academy student.
The screen now showed the Ken doll-like Bryce sitting opposite a plump, smiling Indian woman who looked to be in her early 30s. Her smile was wide, but there was a wariness in her brown eyes as she regarded Bryce. But Grayson couldn't decide whether it was personal to the reporter or if she was just naturally cautious. Dressed in a black pantsuit with a bright red scarf, she looked like a highly successful professional. Now, your name is Amara Biswas, correct? I should say, Dr. Biswas.
Yes, it is such a pleasure to speak with you, Bryce.
Her voice was precise, but also warm.
My parents and I have watched your program for many years.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to have you on. Bryce regarded her with bright eyes. From what our producers found out about you, you're a medical doctor.
Yes, an oncologist.
Grayson noticed the slightest pause before she gave her specialty.
But I no longer see patients. I am doing research for Dua Pharmaceuticals.
Then she gave a lopsided smile as she quickly amended.
Well, I was until I was accepted into the academy. We are, as you know, required to give up our former lives when we become a candidate.
So you aren't trying to get some vampire blood for a doer? Bryce waggled his eyebrows at her. Amara looked alarmed.
No, indeed not. Even if I am chosen and turned, I will not be allowed to return to Duar. That is not allowed.
So you're giving up all of your research on solving the problem of cancer for a chance to be immortal? Bryce's question had a touch of judgment in it. Amara corrected him stiffly.
No, I think of it as allowing me to conduct my research at a far higher level for a far longer time. Being a vampire will allow me to do more for humanity without having some of our frailties.
As a scientist, was it harder for you to believe in the existence of vampires than, say, a less educated guy like me?
On the contrary, I think it was easier because the vampires provided proof of what they were.
There was a gleam in the scientist's eye.
In that moment, when proof was given, the whole world opened up like a flower. The possibilities, Bryce. Oh, the possibilities.
Bryce gave her an almost conspiratorial look as he asked, I've asked the other students this, that I've had the honor of interviewing, so I hope you don't mind me asking you.
What is the question?
Her intelligent brown eyes focused suspiciously on the reporter. Bryce scooted forward to the edge of his seat. What bloodline are you hoping to get chosen by? Suspicion left her eyes, and Amara laughed throatily.
Oh, that is a good question. But surely you know that it is best if I do not answer.
Best?
While I may think I have a preference now, I have not met vampires from each bloodline, so I truthfully could not say what bloodline I'd want. But even if I did know, I would keep it to myself in order to increase the possibility of my being chosen by any of the bloodlines. My goal is to become a vampire to serve humankind.
But surely a doctor such as yourself would be intrigued by being a Kali bloodline vampire and being able to raise the dead, or...
A Wyvern bloodline vampire who can teleport around the world in moments. Or a Siren bloodline vampire who can use a song to heal. Or a Weren bloodline vampire who can shift into animal form. They are all incredible. How could anyone be disappointed with any one of those gifts?
Amara shook her head, and Bryce gave her a bashful look. When you put it like that, Doctor, I think I see your point. The screen went back to Carl and Candy in the studio.
Well, she is impressive too. What an interesting bunch they all are.
Indeed. We only got to speak to half a dozen of the students. The identity of the rest has been kept secret from the general public.
So for all of us Harry Potter fans, is there a train involved in getting to the academy?
The school is in the Everdark, which is an alternate or pocket dimension, no human seems quite sure, that can be accessed via hidden gateways.
How are students going to get there?
My understanding is that they will receive written instructions, a literal invitation, or a golden ticket, as it were, which will tell them where to go and when exactly to get there. We haven't seen the invitations. That's all hush-hush. But I'm sure we'll learn more soon.
The bell over the door rang, and Grayson turned to see who it was. He let out a slight sigh as he caught sight of Sam. Sam was homeless, with a severe drinking problem. Grayson often had bought him food and a blanket. Normally, though, when Sam came in on his own, it was because he had enough money to buy booze.
But it's cold and wet tonight. It's too late to get into a shelter, not that he'd go. So can I really deny him this small comfort? Maybe I can convince him to just bed down in the back room out of the rain. Sam, hey. Need a dry, warm spot to get out of the rain?
Grayson.
Sam's words were already slurred, and the reek of alcohol surrounded him like a miasma.
Just gotta get something to drink to warm me on the inside.
Grayson grimaced as the homeless man tottered towards the back case where the cheap beer and rot-gut whiskey was.
What about some water and a little food instead? You can stay my whole shift if you don't drink.
Sam waved him off and kept shuffling towards the cooler.
Just need a drink. No worries.
Grayson was about to make another offer when the bell jangled more harshly than usual as something burst through the door. He turned his head in annoyance as the figure, a man in a trench coat half keeling over, stumbled into the store. At first, Grayson thought it was another drunk person as they staggered over to him, but that thought fled as soon as they leaned heavily on the counter and bright red droplets of blood dripped onto the counter before Grayson. The man looked up with wild, frightened eyes.
Help me! You've got to help me! They're trying to kill me!
Though listeners are very attached to Everdark, a lot of members say that Everdark Academy is their new favorite. Maybe it's too soon to tell, which means that you should come back tomorrow for Everdark Academy Chapter 2.